Hope you're doing well. A few hours ago, a PTU patch for 4.1 was just released, and it was available to all backers, but if you got a hold of an Evo Cadi member, they could spawn two brand new vehicles. One, a ground vehicle, mech suit, exosuit, whatever system you want to call it, being the one I'm in right now, the ATLS GEO, which is the mining variant, and has storage as well, and a gun rack. So really interesting combination, and possibly a tractor beam thing. I'm going to get right into that. Also, the other ship was the Drake Golem. I am not discounting the Golem. You'll see a little bit of bonus footage at the end. You can use the chapters to jump to it. Spoiler alert, though, I didn't fly one, and I just one of those nights where I was very excited about the Geo, and this is what I got my hands on. So, as you just saw, the Geo has a mining system, and it has thrusters of its own, and they work a little weird. So it has a scan, and has the tractor beam, but the thrusters, they go the direction you're already going. So if you just press space, if you just jump up in the air and then you continue to hold down space bar, which is the thruster key, and you'll see that little fuel gauge go up and down throughout this video. It'll just go in straight up and down. You can't will it to go left, right, front, back, at least in this 4.1 PTU build. However, if you hold down the W key ahead of time, or the A and D keys, you can strafe as well doing this, it'll continue the trajectory you're on. So you can just keep going. And what I found was if you pulse it, so you just keep tapping instead of holding down the space bar, it lasts quite a while. When you do finally land, you firmly plant yourself. It's like this suit has to reset basically for just a moment, and it does slow down your speed. This rock is 310 meters away when I first started this clip, and this igneous deposit, which is too big for this thing to mine, I find out, without a gadget, and I'll get into that in a minute. I don't have one on me. But the point is that you can get around pretty quickly. This thing in caves would be amazing, and it holds up. You can jump over ships, large rocks, whatever you want with it, and it's just plain fun. I could see a lot of people that aren't very interested in mining suddenly wanting to learn how to mine, or people that haven't done it in a long time suddenly fracturing some rocks and then scooping out those goodies, especially if they have a buddy who can guide them to the good stuff. So I just popped it onto Yala on the side of it on the moon here, and I was like, let me just see how it goes. And on this short little first look at the ATLS GEO, the rock would just happen to be too big. This is made for a ship, basically, and that is one of the strengths and weaknesses of this suit. I think this suit is going to be very cheap in game. I mean, we look at the traditional ATLS, and I mean, you could pick it up and finish 3 contracts, and you could just buy it outright from the store. And I think this thing will be a bit more expensive. It's more complicated due to the thruster layout, and also the money making potential. It seems like CIG tends to weight these things if they're novel and such, but eventually it will be for sale in game, and it's definitely a pickup in game. If you have a LTI token laying around, it might be a fun little, especially depending on the price point, it might be worth 5-10 USD. If it's in that like category, it might be worth you picking up, just using some store credit and swapping it out, or war bonding it, whatever. And there are quite a lot of paints for this thing. We have not been able to confirm if the ATLS paints will be on all of the designs, because there is a giant, it's basically an ATLS with a backpack shoved on the back, but due to the thrusters and a few other things, CIG would have had to willfully start with the process of hanging the paint both on both versions of the ATLS. In the past, we've seen them try to start adding variants to paints. So if you have previous paints, like when the ATLS first came out, the concierge paint and such, the Pacific paint, the nice blue colored one, I suspect it will work with this, but I'm not quite sure. And it's now a given. I am literally staring at paints previews. for this device when it comes out. It is not for sale, at least as of recording, but I think it'll firmly put itself into the price point around the ROC and the ROC DS, which, as a reminder, the ROC DS is actually being worked on by CIG to make it more people actually want to use it. It'll have a double cab, and it'll have removable containers, at least last I heard. I don't know if that's still CIG's path on it, but who knows. With this focus on mining, with this brand new mech suit, exosuit, etc., that's focused on mining, and the brand new Drake Golem, I think that there'll be some really interesting kind of niches, and the ROC DS is an easy way to build up that energy if they truly want to build the mining profession out. Also, another ship that really desperately needs to be out the door already because of all these is the Expanse. So the Mythic Expanse is still not available, the small refinery ship, unfortunately, because that would be really useful, symbiotic with, say, 2 of these suits running around. And if you're just looking to collect, it does have some container in the back, and you'll see it in a moment. But the point is that this is, to me, a short-term fun kick-around thing, and where I'm going with this is I don't think that's a bad thing because of one of 2 things. One, if you have this mounted on a ship big enough to have a couple of these just put in the cargo hold and nobody cares, and you just pull them out when you want to have fun, that's great. And also, if you're looking for something where it's you and a buddy, you can pack 2 of these onto the back of a Nomad. Not comfortably, but you could. You could absolutely do some really fun stuff with very little hardware and all bought in game. I mean, you can easily earn these soon. Just for, obviously, I'm speaking in a couple patches from now when they'll finally put this in the game to buy with in-game credits. But when this is an in-game credits purchase, I could definitely see somebody owning or renting a Nomad, shoving these in the back of it, and then going to town with them and making enough money to earn Prospector, whatever else they're looking for. So you see that tractor beam mount there. It seems like it is a mount for a tractor beam, and then on the other side you see the mining gadget deployable storage. And then inside, there's 2 hidden locations inside. I'm leaving all this in just so if you want to pause and you want to see the small details. I know some people really appreciate that, and why not? It's already a short video. I've edited it down. But you'll see these buttons in the bottom corner, and you'll see that that opens up the container. This is the container that will be filling up with your mining material. And the Geo Resource Pod, you can see, has 100K micro SCU, and you can pick that box up. So in the future, what is interesting to me is that you'd be able to have a couple of those boxes, and you could even have like a some sort of chain reaction where you have another vehicle picking them up. And one of the other use cases I forgot to mention earlier was the idea of having these at an outpost. So if you, when finally player outposts come in, especially the early days, I could see these things are going to be on everybody's outpost because they're so handy if you have any mining resources nearby at all that this thing can mine anyway. You'll note that small weapon locker down below, which I really like, and that is something me and Toast have always hammered away on vehicles and ships that have exposed weapon storage. It's not really polite company type stuff, where this vehicle has a tractor beam storage, it looks like, on the back right side if you're sitting inside the suit, if you're trying to picture where it's at. And then on the left side you have your mining gadget, and then the back locked away inside a sealed container that you can lock is where the handheld weapon, like the one-handed weapon, would be in. That's pretty slick. I did not expect that weapon rack, to be honest. So again, like walking around an outpost, exploring it, even just for the thruster layout, it's a shame that there's not armor on the chest, because this thing could definitely be like a scout vehicle for a lot of people. And that's where I see potential. So with this ATLS, to me, that is signaling that they are interested in having a whole progression of these. And if you have an ATLS for tractor beaming, which is the traditional ATLS, and then you have this sitting at the mining category, probably only 5 or 10 USD more if I was to guess over the ATLS, it brings up the interesting point of, like, where do we go from here? I think you'd have a salvage unit that's at or around the price point of this one in the future, and with a different salvage head on the side. And I don't know if it would have like fabrication or something. It might just pump out RMC into a container in the back, just like this one, and then that's it. And then finally, I think we'd start looking at a combat one. And honestly, this is going to be maybe sacrilege to some and make a few people frown. I don't think that we should start with like a minigun one, or like if you played PlanetSide 2, you know, like the mech suits with like the double flat cannons and stuff on the arms. Maybe not start with that. I'm gonna say I'd like to see a medical one that's up armored, because like a rescue variant that's heavy rescue with the thrusters, and it has like a hook on the one arm that can like literally lift somebody to pull them to safety, and then the other arm is a healing tool, like a tier 3 healing, like handheld, but it's like the upper tier. It's above the second level of the healing mechanisms. That's what I'd like to see, but that's just my opinion. Because I think it would be easy to balance. It would be something where, yes, they are stupidly armored, but people have to learn how to counter that. And it wouldn't like destroy the game's balance all of a sudden. And then once we get that ironed out, then have the next one up. It's like, okay, this is the hard assault unit that has like a minigun. And maybe the launcher, the plasma rocket launcher off the Nova tank or something. When that finally gets that, I put that on the arm or the back, like the MCRN tactical troops, you know, that kind of thing. The mech, their suits. But anyway, what I think is just, at the end of the day, this is a progression. It's an exciting piece of kit. I'm glad you got a chance to check it out with me. You can note the strafing here in this first look that it can do. And again, right now, all backers can access the PTU. Just get in chat, and it may take you a couple tries, but you'll find somebody who'll hook you up with it if you're not already into Evo. So I wanted to give a shout out to a buddy named Zach, who hooked me up with this unit. So that was pretty awesome of him. And that's kind of where I'm at with the whole situation. 4.1 is shaping up into a really interesting PTU into live patch cycle to me. It's like cleaning up a lot of the messes, and it's behaving in a way where there's a lot of little things kind of feel like they're hiding in the background, and that's fine with me. So one of the biggest things, I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but there is going to be a certain alien species is going to have somebody in the game. You can already go to a station where he's at, or at least see where he's going to be, and see some really interesting stuff. And there's going to be rewards that include upgraded guns, like you complete missions for him, and then he will upgrade your weapons for you, like a vending machine, and then also possibly upgraded on ships, smaller ships, maybe 2 different ones. So I'm pretty excited to see where that's going as well, because I've been saying for years now, literal years, that Low over at Crow's Customs, I would have loved to see more with him, where like you do some missions, like go save his old buddies from Low when they came to Stanton for the IAE, or one of the bigger events like that, and they got in trouble or something, and you got to jailbreak them or something, no questions asked, without hurting anybody, like he's got a code or something. It would have been interesting to have like a complex mission, and then in exchange he gives you one of them upgraded M50s or something like that. That would have been pretty cool. Because you go into there and you can see his upgraded M50 hanging there. The engine swap that was going to be long rumored. But anyway, what I think about a lot of different things really doesn't matter. What matters is your playability. 4.1 has plenty of things that are quality of life improvements, not just for mining folks, as I just said. There is an interesting set of new contracts that will give you very, very interesting rewards for combat coming in this patch cycle as well, if all things go the way they're supposed to be going. Now, on to the Drake Golem. Again, I didn't even put it in the title of this video because this is pretty terrible video, but I caught a few of the Drake Golems being spawned before they ran off to go get mining, and the ones that are abandoned. And I gave the ship a look. It is very small. It is very, very small. It's significantly smaller than a prospector. It's maybe, depending on how you view it, the best or all the worst traits of Drake. It's very stripped down. It has a single mining head that comes off the top. It has like a dish style that comes out of the top of the unit, and then a gantry pushes forward in front of where the pilot sits, and then that dish points forward so you can mine. You can see the dish there in the center, and you can see that this particular golem is set up in the VTOL configuration. It has VTOL capability. See those big thrusters on the sides pointed downwards. Now, where does this ship fit into the meta, etc., etc.? From what I'm hearing, people are still trying to figure that out themselves. I've heard things being thrown around that it's possibly 32 SCU of storage, but it's extremely small ship. It seems like it's going to be 32 SCU storage with dual 16 SCU containers. And it is definitely going to be interesting if it becomes what I believe is going to be an advanced starter, basically. I don't think it's going to be as cheap as a starter, but it's folding into those advanced starters where it gets you really going on a profession in a good way. You're not walking around with a hand mining tool. If you're getting started, I could see people running these. A few of these, you can fit one of these in a Hercules, possibly two. That's my goal in the next couple of days when I get my hand on if I get my hands on one or two of them, get some volunteers. I'll just on the channel, on the server itself, going through and finding what the ideal configuration is. I can tell you right now, people are going to be mounting these in Polarises. If I got my hands on one, I would have squeezed it into an 890 and shown you how much space there is. So if you take the measurements of it and you look, it can fit in a ton of different stuff. And back to the ATLS GEO, that vehicle, that suit, as I showed, it can fit in a Nomad. It can squeeze into a Cuddy somehow, and it is capable of squeezing into all sorts of different ships, and most importantly, in some ships that are a little bit bigger, it doesn't take over the entire cargo hold, much like this Drake Golem is very reasonable, where if you have a buddy with a Polaris and you're the only guy in the group that likes to mine or something, and all the rest of the folks in the group don't like to mine, you could probably just fly over with your Golem and squeeze it in the corner of the hangar, and then go, hey, all right, well, they can still put in like their a big old fighter in there to work with or something, and you're not feeling like you've suddenly turned their adventures into a mining expedition. So I like where that's going. I like the thought that CIG is doing to releasing these type of vehicles that should be affordable, both on the website and then eventually in the game, more importantly in the game, so people have a fair use of progression and also options at the different price points at the different levels. So as you've earned your first million UEC, you have some really serious options, and it's not just, oh well, you get a you get a vulture and then you get a reclaimer, or you get a prospector and then well, you get that prospector. And did I mention the prospector? Yeah, the prospector, because nobody talks about the mole. It's terrible. It needs to be reworked. Maybe, who knows, maybe this focus on mining hopefully will, because it is a wonderful ship with the ability to crush down ores and such. I would love to see it. Maybe even just give it a refinery, for goodness sake. Just turn it, instead of crushing down ore, it's suddenly a refinery for only ore mines or something. I don't know. Give it like the Odyssey treatment, how that thing handles fuel, or at least it was supposed to do everything, but they changed it to fuel. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. 4.1, I'm kind of a few different places. It's very exciting for me. I hope it is for you as well. I hope you caught the bug and you have a chance to check out the PTU. Again, it's open to all backers. For those who need the reminder, don't forget, what you do is you go into your Star Citizen folder, copy your live, paste it right next to itself, and then change the name of that to PTU, and then go onto the website, into your My Hangar, settings, PTU, hit copy to PTU. That's it. That's all the work you got to do. And then in the launcher, all of a sudden you have the option of PTU. It's a small patch and you're done. And it's not bogging out your internet for you and your whole family and friends and such. It's not screwing everything up for everybody. So that's what I got. Get out there, have some fun. And thank you again for my long-term subscribers for putting up with me. I'm glad to be back for a wonderful new patch cycle.